Hey guys, and welcome to a new tutorial video. For the new here, my name is Gobi, and today we're going to take a look at the tutorial on how to paint a US Airborne soldier. So, let's enjoy the video. As the very first base color, I went with a solid layer of khaki. I choose this special shade because it perfectly mimics the iconic M42 airborne uniform worn during World War II. As you can easily see right here on the reference picture, the tone matched the historical fabric very well. Building a strong foundation like this is super important because it gives us the ideal base for all upcoming layers. Shading, highlights and a realistic weather effect that will be added later on in this video. For very first highlights, I mix the German beige and khaki in 1:1 ratio. This gives us a subtle, natural step up from a base coat. Keep things looking smoothly and realistic. I focus this mix mainly on the races area, the upper folds of the fabric, and anywhere the light will naturally hit the uniform first, helping to give the model the essential depth and three-dimensional volume. To help blend everything together nicely and keep the transition smooth, I made sure to thin the paint down just a bit more than usual. Working with these layers let me build up the wrinkles gradually with not leaving any hard brush stroke on unlimited lines, especially on the small folds around the pocket and shoulders. For all the adjustment, like backpack and pouches, I mix the dark yellow and khaki in 1:1 ratio. This creates a distinct contrast against the uniform itself, helping the pouches and straps stand out instead of blending into one boring single-colored mass. It's a simpler step, but breaking up the tone between the uniform and the loadout adds so much depth and realism to it 1.8mm right from start. I also add this mix on the belt. Now to take an achievement to the next level, I add the final highlights using pure German beige. I carefully apply this on all of the surface, the edges of the straps and the other seams of the pouches when the light naturally catch them. By focusing on especially on the small like traffic area, we really separate the edgement from the fabric of the uniform. This simple contrast not only add the visual interest to the model, but also define the silhouette of the gear. For the second and final highlights on the uniform, I went to push the contrast even further, making those edges really pop. To achieve this, I mix the Japanese Tenkaru 2 and the German BG in a precision 1:1 ratio. This special combination creates a very bring, almost bland khaki tone, perfect to simulate the extreme wear on the fabric folds. I apply this mix only on the race area and the edges of the collar. For the knee pads and the elbow pads, I switch over to the US olive drab. This is a crucial step because the reinforced patches on the M42 uniform were often made from a slightly different fabric or dyed in a distinct shade compared to the main khaki jacket and trousers. By introducing this rich olive green tone, we slowly break up the overall color scheme of the model and add a great layer of the historical accuracy. It helps their reinforced area stand out natural, giving the uniform that authentic field modified look while adding even more visual interest to the miniature. To bring out all the detail on the reference parts, I apply highlights using a custom mix of olive drab and sky gray in a ratio 1:1. This combination gave us a slightly muted, dusty greenish grey that look remained natural on the faded military canvas. I also add this mix on a grenade. For the Thompson gunsling, I went with the German beige. Even on the tiny 28mm model, adding detail to the weapon make a massive difference in the overall look. To finish off the uniform detail, I use sky grey for some final touch. Now you might be wondering why I use grey on the khaki uniform. Well, I did this because the original M42 uniform often features special white or light grey markings, especially on the legs, stitch lines or fabric repairs. By adding the subtle, tiny line and aces in the sky grey, we break up the solid block and add an incredible amount of realism and character to the miniature. It is their tiny historical detail that really make your painting from a standard tabletop standard to someone truly eye-catching. For the boots and the knife scalpel, I use a red leather. This rich warm reddish brown shade is fantastic because it adds a nice brush of contrast and break up all the khaki and olive tone we are used to so far. On military miniature, leather edgement like jumping boots or knife sable rarely look flat, so starting with a vibration leather tone gave us a great foundation. Since this particular miniature doesn't have a helmet and in sable with just a field bandage around the head, painting the hair correctly became much more important. I apply a solid base of rich chocolate brown to cover all the visible hair around the face, ears, and the back of the neck, where it eventually from the beige. For the face, I choose to use Barbarian Flesh. When you're painting miniature faces, especially one with exposed skin around the bandage, getting a solid and warm flesh tone down is essential to bring the character to life. This particular shade has a great healthy warmth to it, which instantly gives the skin a natural look. To bring out all the detail on the face, I apply highlights using a custom mix of Opal skin and Barbarian Flesh. This combination helps to create a smoothly natural radiation, allow us to pick up the racist feature like the tips of the nose, the cheekbone and the brown lines. To shade the uniform and tie all the color together, I apply a generous wash of dark tone across the entire outfit. This dark shade follow naturally into the recesses, deep crease and the folds of the fabric, instantly adding the necessary shadows and definition. It are from the recesses of M42 suite, the bunches and adjustment which give the miniature a realistic sense of weight and depth. Once this wash is dry, it creates a fantastic contrast against our highlights, making all the sculpts detail pop. To shade the edge band, I choose to use military shade wash. The special green tinted tone is absolutely perfect for metallic gear because it creates depth, natural shadows that mimic rime and field wear with not making everything look too dark or muddy. And for the final shading on face, I used wrong skin shade. This is fantastic for dropping right into the recesses around A, nose and that around the field gauge to create a depth and a realistic shadow. And that's wrapped it up. I hope you enjoy painting this US Airborne trooper with me. Thanks for watching, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. And don't forget to write a comment, and goodbye.